Hi, and welcome back to a podcast above a convenience store. I'm Joe Fremming from the Joe Down. With me, as always, is Paul Muad'Dib.
Hello, everyone, and you lost the game. Go on.
uh, we're back talking Twin Peaks season 2. We're still in the good area of this season. But we're going to be nosediving right into it next week. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But this week we're doing episodes 5 and 6, The Orchid's Curse and Demons.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, what are your first thoughts on these two episodes here?
Well, I'm glad, we've been really fortunate because I'm glad we watched these ones together. Even though the Orchid's Curse was written by Barry Pullman, and the Demons was written by Harley and Robert, who we should know by now. It really felt like a two-part. The way I watched them, I'm really glad it just happened to work for us, because these two, I think, needed to be watched together. Would you agree?
Yeah, they almost feel like a two-parter. If there is a thing in Twin Peaks of a two-parter episode, this is one of the few times it felt like watching back to back. They kind of complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's just get right into it.
Yeah, please.
So with Orchid's Curse, this is more of it's heavy toward Harold. This is more of a Harold episode, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But we get some other things, but Harold to me is probably the most interesting aspect of the episode. But what we're going to is we start with the Great Northern. Cooper wakes up, tells Diane immediately that he had a dream where he was eating a large tasteless gumdrop, which his earplugs fell out and one landed in his mouth. So he's sleep eating at this point.
Yes, and it's so funny. I love that. And yeah, that's really it. And then he's starting to do yoga, we're seeing. Right?
Yeah. He's got that Eastern flavor of his obsessions, And he finally finds Audrey's note from last season under his bed, which I feel like this note keeps moving around his room.
Well, okay, so this is another one of those continuity things that bug me a little bit. Is, okay, if he's been doing this and he's been starting with headstands and doing things, there's nowhere for him to do a headstand other than against one of the wall looking under that bed. So how has he not seen it?
Well, I mean, he was shot that one night. I'll give him that one.
Sure, I'll give him that one, but we're on episode... I mean, each one of these episodes is about a day, right?
Roughly, yeah.
So we're 4 days into this, 4 days in from the letter, 4 or 5 days in from the letter. I don't know, but all right, fine, fair enough. All right, moving on.
Yeah, so he finds the note from Audrey. So he now knows where Audrey is, which is good, because if he wouldn't have found this note, he'd be... Supposedly, in Ben Horn's logic, Cooper would be dead by the end of this episode. But good thing he finds that note, and then he also mentions the giant was right. He did forget something.
Right, exactly.
The giant's like, look under your bed, dummy.
I guess, maybe I'm not going to argue what that was, but it is there. So we have that, and then we cut to the police station, where we get somewhat of an A-plot, where Hawk comes back and says that he interrogated the neighbors up at Pearl Lake, and neither of them knew of Robertson or Bob.
Yeah, it was two women. And
yep.
Did you get when he mentioned the two elderly women who were lived next door to the Palmers? I had a vision. I immediately thought of the finale of the Return, of the two women who are living in the Palmer house when Dale.
Yeah.
That was my first thought. Is that something?
Is that a reference? I think it's a subtle nod. I think it might be a subtle nod. Absolutely. But I also picture, I think about these two ladies living up on Pearl Lake. I'm thinking retirement, cabin type of thing.
Yeah.
So I was also picturing like two old lesbian couple, like in their 60s.
Yeah, like that couple that is kind of like got
From the return.
recognized for being the inspiration of a League of Their Own.
Yes.
I haven't seen that documentary, but I heard it's really good.
I do need to see that. I do need to see that. But yes, exactly. Um, and then Coop tells Truman what's going on. So now they kind of have an advantage over everything. They know where she is, so they can keep playing the game that's going to come in later.
Which I mean, but why doesn't Cooper just call the FBI and be like, "There's this kidnapped woman, high school girl. She's at this brothel in Canada."
Yeah, I
have hard evidence here because she wrote a note to me saying
where she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one of those things where I was like, why didn't he let Gordon know what was going on and what he was going to do?
Yeah. But again, we don't know if he did tell Gordon this or not. Blue Rose operates outside of the typical FBI, so we don't know what Gordon knows. I mean, that's just based off of what we've read in Secret History, Know from the Return, and Final Dossier, that Gordon seems to know a lot of what's going on with Cooper, more than the show ever really told us.
I think so. Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with you 100% on that one. And I think we'll get in that next episode.
Yeah, because right after the events of this, Gordon shows up. So I think he knew.
Yeah, I think he knew. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we're missing in conversations and the things that he's that we don't have, that because we don't know everything he's telling Diane and how Diane's reporting that to Gordon, and what conversations Cooper is having with Gordon's on the side. I think there's a lot of things we just don't know. So
let's dive deep into the D plot.
Yeah, exactly.
Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley finding a new life. He's selling medical equipment. Is that the gist?
That's the
insurance agent, because the insurance agent's Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld. We see later on.
He's the medical device salesman. Yep. And he's selling them the most ridiculous thing in the world. I don't even know what that contraption was.
It looked like a fancy sex swing to me. Maybe just because that's where my mind just happened to go, but it just that seemed like a pervy type of thing. Like, not to judge or anything, but it just seems like that'd be more for Shelley and Bobby than it would be for Leo.
Yes. That's kind of where my mind went as well. I'm like, that looks like one of those sex swings that you get from that shop that maybe you shouldn't go into. I made this back with some leftover equipment from the construction site.
Yeah, maybe the pawn shop in Pulp Fiction or something.
Exactly. So yeah, there's that, and they're all just banking on the insurance thing. Then we get to the court, and let me just say that the prosecutor, he doesn't win a damn. Like, he's the most worthless prosecutor ever, in my opinion. Like, this guy, he just wins nothing. Like, I kind of felt bad for him. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, I feel like we see him later on in this when the dregs of this season. I think he comes back for something, and he loses again. I could be wrong, because
I think you're right.
Frankly, when it comes to season 2 after Lonely Souls, I'm like Harold. I'm day drinking while I'm watching this, then, just to get through the day.
I haven't hit that point yet, but it's coming. I know it's coming. I watched these ones twice in a row. Once last night while I was up, and then again today to double check it. So, yeah, it's the bail hearing, and they let Leland on bail, which, in a way,
had a point, though. He's erratic behavior. He killed somebody after his daughter was murdered. There's no way in hell Leland should be let out. And this is my theory, because Harry stands up and is like, yeah, Leland is a good guy. I say Harry is indirectly responsible for the murder of Maddie Ferguson.
I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with you on that. And that's exactly what I thought was. I'm like, man, the guilt that would be on Truman's head when they find out that it was him that killed Maddie. Yeah, absolutely. He should really second guess this thing. And yeah, the erratic behavior is 100% right. This guy, I mean, he is not right.
No, he's singing and dancing one moment, his hair turns shock white the next. He kills Jacques Renault in a hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he, in order to do so, he pulled that fire alarm, which is another fine as well that they got to get him for, which I think is a felony, isn't it?
I don't know if it's a felony. It could be.
I can't remember.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
could be because too many kids do that as pranks in high school, so I don't think it. I don't remember any of our friends going to prison for that.
Yes,
They went to prison for other reasons, but
depending on the state, pulling a fire alarm is a felony.
well,
Yep, depending on the state.
what about Washington State?
Let me look in Washington.
While you're looking this up, I just also want to bring up the fact this has probably like one of my favorite sight gags in the whole series. And it's Andy sketching for he wants to sell it to the newspaper. It's not a bad sketch, but just at the angle he's at, he only draws the back and side of Leland's
head. and he says that to him, right? He's like, I would do this. Okay. So in this,
I tried to get more face in there, Andy.
Yeah, depending. So in the state of Washington, it is a misdemeanor, but it can be, but it can be increased up to a felony if someone were to get injured during that, if there was a commotion or someone getting freaked out and people are trying to get out of a building and someone gets injured, that can add to it, make it a felony.
So what if somebody just happened to get smothered to death while I'm asking for a friend.
You're asking for a friend of yours? I would think that would constitute the felony. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, long story short, Leland is released on his own recognizance. Harry does have this speech, that leads to the murder of Maddie Ferguson. But I've also was confused why Harry knows so much about the Palmers' history in Twin Peaks.
Well,
it's a little odd.
It is a little odd, but at the same time, I think it goes to show that he's a bookhouse boy. He's someone that's been part of the community, and it goes to show how small. I think part of that was an intention or a just kind of a throwback to this is that small of a town where everyone knew everyone forever. That's my thought.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
but it is a bit odd. Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, the Sauk Rapids, which is connected to our hometown, they still haven't forgotten about a fucking tornado from 200 years ago, dude.
Fair enough. So now, after this is a little side break from this night court or whatever thing we got going on. We go to Harold Smith's where, again, he's day drinking, which I guess if he doesn't go out and doesn't have a job or anything, I mean, what the hell else does he have to do? But, he's kind of day drinking with a teenage girl, which kind of creeps me out a bit.
A little bit. The other thing I noticed too is, I'm in quarantine, right? You're in quarantine. We got Voldemort going on right now, right?
Yeah.
There are days where I wear the same sweatpants for 3 days.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? And this guy doesn't leave his house, and he has a different outfit on every day. Have you noticed that?
I think it's because this is his life, and he's used to it. He's done it more than 2 months.
Yeah, that's fair. I still think it's...
Because I have a friend who's on disability who really can't leave, and, he's able... he's not dressed in jammy pants like I am every day. Like this is like you just kind of adjust.
No,
But it
fair.
is.
All right, I'll take that. That seems legit because it is his life. It is his way of going about things. So,
What
I,
is I'll give you something that Harold is weird, and not for like the obvious things because I think he's agoraphobic.
mhm.
He is weird for like wanting to make diaries of teenage girls.
That's an odd hobby, isn't it?
It's yeah, this should be putting him on FBI lists.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that if this had been made now, he'd be that creepy dude in a subreddit that's talking to 18-year-olds and making notes about them.
God, yes, he is that
Yes,
guy.
he
I
is
mean,
that guy.
Harold just has kind of like a creepy. I mean, I like Harold as a character, but he does. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have enough time to flesh him out because we have to remember, like at this point, they're heading full into the reveal against. Uh, the background is Frost was okay with it, Lynch wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's kind of button head, so they're kind of speeding things along. And it feels a little more rushed than
Absolutely.
the episodes that came before. So this feels like they're just cramming a lot in here.
Yeah, there's
Probably
a
with the
lot of
idea that
pacing issues.
that maybe they'll be canceling this show at any point. That's the least the vibe I'm getting from it.
Yep, I completely agree with you. Like I've seen shows that are towards the end or are worried about a cancellation, so everything gets sped up, like everything kind of moved kind of slowly, and then it's just okay. We got rating, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's this. There's a lot happening all at once, and it feels very crammed in. I completely agree with you.
So Donna wants to read Laura's diary
Mm-hmm.
because she's a nosy bitch.
Because this is Donna Drew's Mysteries. This is Donna Drew's Mystery Hour with Laura Flynn Boyle.
She's trying to get all up into other people's junk. So, but he says he'll read it to her, but he also wants to start the secret diary of Donna Hayward, which nobody will ever want to read.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of gives him like this introduction, grabs Laura's diary and runs outside trying to like get him to go outside. And as soon as he does, the poor son of a bitch just collapses. Like he can't go outside. And I have a couple theories about that, but what are your thoughts?
Well, okay, the one thing that bothered me on this one is, okay, she wants this diary, right? She has it. She left the house. And she gives it back to him, even though that's the whole thing that she wanted to get the diary from him. And then, he goes outside and he does this weird shake thing. And I know people who are agoraphobic, and it's not that extreme. So, I mean, something really fucking traumatic happened to the dude.
Yeah, I have a theory that I think he's sensitive to the woods in a sense. I think he's like maybe like like Force sensitive is in Star Wars. I think he might be Lodge sensitive.
Okay.
Since the Tremonts are next door.
Yep.
I have a feeling there's something about his place is his sanctuary, and if he leaves, it puts him in danger.
Do you think maybe he's one of the people that like a Mike or like a Leland that would be susceptible, or like a Laura that would be susceptible to be a host to some of the lodge entities?
I think so because the way he comes off, they kind of make him like one of the peer characters in that he's not. He doesn't really have nefarious ulterior motives with things. So I think that might be part of it, and I think that might have definitely been fleshed out had they not been like, oh god, the show's hemorrhaging ratings. We gotta speed this along.
I'll go along with that. I think had things gone the way it's supposed to, I wouldn't doubt if he was a lodge entity.
Because he was right next door to the Mrs. Tremont and the boy.
And the boy.
Or the magician, I think.
Yep. Well, yeah, was he? Yes, I think it was the magician. And he also, as you said, he's right by the woods, and he was so central to all of it. I think he would have been. I think if things had gone the way it should have, I think he'd been introduced, would have been a lot more of an interesting character, and it would have came out that maybe been like another Tremont thing where we'd find out like in season 3 or 4 that he wasn't there the whole time.
Yeah, I think that might have been something that they were going to flesh out because again, he was an interesting character, and then they just kind of they do him wrong in these 2 episodes a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of make him a little more pervy, which is not like kind of like how he was set up. But I guess you're trying to spring ahead here because network interference
Is a bitch.
Is a bitch. It happens with like unless you're like on a premium network like HBO or something,
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to be getting notes and from people who have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
So then we get the weirdest bail trial of all time.
Leo's
bail trial. Well, they got these pictures of Leo.
His headshot.
His headshot.
Eric DeRay's headshot. It looks.
Yep. It's his headshot from his audition, and they're bringing in the brain. Can we? And the guy's arguing about about allowing the brain scan and what's a normal brain scan, and he starts going on kind of a tirade, which very unprofessional, Judge Stern. He's like, okay, I got it. Let's take a brief recess over to the bar
with the sheriff and the FBI man,
who are in front of everybody sitting at the bar, and he tells Sid to make a Black Yukon Sucker Punch. Do you know what's in Black Yukon Sucker Punch, sir?
I don't. It sounds disgusting.
2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of coffee-infused sweet vermouth, 1 teaspoon of creme de coco, topped with brew Caraco and whipped cream.
That sounds disgusting.
And it's nothing but liquor. It's like a fucking... they put in a giant fucking glass in that one.
Did you notice Cooper is the only one who doesn't drink it?
It doesn't drink it. I love that. Yes, I noticed that right away.
It's a little thing that shows that he is like professional and on it almost all times, which I think was like a good character thing to add to it. And it kind of fits with Harry that, what the hell, I'll have a drink even though I'm working.
Now, my understanding is this is going to be a peer trial. So the judge then starts asking Truman and Cooper if they think Leo was the one that killed Laura Palmer, which is like, what is he doing?
Yeah, oh boy, this is an appeals trial waiting to happen, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was thinking. But Cooper's like, no, it's not him. So they decide that Leo's not going to stand trial. He's not competent, and he'll go home and get the money. And then the interesting thing about the judge is he must know what's going on too, and I think he would have been more fleshed out as well, because he starts telling Cooper that weird shit happens in the woods and to watch out for them. And did you catch that as well?
Yeah. I have a feeling that judge has at one point been a bookhouse boy too.
I think so.
I think it alludes to that because that's the exact kind of like same Harry says when he first introduces the bookhouse boys. Like he says, there's things out in these woods that nobody can explain, sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I think he's part of that crew. I think he's from the area and all that. So
yeah, I just also get the feeling he would have been more important too. Like I think there would have been some really cool elements with him.
Yeah, I do too. Again, they rushed it, and this was just network television at the time, people. I mean, there's no grassroots. Like today, showrunners or whatever can go to social media and air grievances and put pressure on networks to kind of take the pressure off of them. This just wasn't around back then, so.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no famously with the return, Lynch walked away and announced it on Twitter and it got a big following to pressure Showtime into getting him the budget he wanted. So, I mean, this is just a different time.
Yep, absolutely. So then we get more deep plot, very little. Nadine comes home.
The Nadine shit show, I call it.
The Nadine shit show starts to happen. That blah blah blah. The only thing that really stood out to me on this one was when she pulled the fridge door off and she goes to yank it up. Did you notice the weird sped up cut that they did? Did you catch that?
A little bit. The thing that stood out to me was they make a reference that Jacoby, who is still kind of he's a suspect in this murder trial. He's in Hawaii.
He's in Hawaii.
It's a throwaway line, but it really upset me.
Yeah. Are you thinking about having her go see Dr. Jacoby? Nah, he's in Hawaii, recovering from his heart attack or whatever. Yeah, and it's so unfortunate because when Ed's on, I love Ed. He's such a great actor, and he's a good character, and he deserved better than this as well. Did you not agree with that?
Yeah, you can tell that he's not interested. The actor, it just doesn't seem like he's in it with this whole plot. The Nadine, we've made it apparent that her character story would have been more impactful if she would have just kicked the bucket like it was originally intended, I think, for at the end of season 1.
I completely agree. Yeah.
But now she's like a superhuman who's stuck at 18, and it's just this is quirk for the sake of quirk, and that's just always it's like weird for the sake of weird. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It just doesn't work if you're just doing something for the sake of it. It's just you got to have something. It's like I was thinking about this too when I was watching it. And I was thinking of why I feel like if there's a perfect like spiritual cousin to the pilot and how it's balanced, it would be like the movie Fargo, where you get the quirk, but it's not.
Yes.
It's not overdone, and so like even they have these quirks. There's that sense of menace, and it's so easy for that just kind of fall apart when you lean heavily on the comedic side or you're leaning on quirk for the sake of quirk, and this is what happens in season 2, and it starts to fall apart.
Yes, the quirk it becomes but then it becomes less quirky and almost slapsticky, and I hate it. Kind of that that vibe. It's kind of like when you look at Airplane, right? For what it is, why does Airplane work and say Disaster movie doesn't? You know what I mean? Because you got to have some intelligence and some wit and some reason to it to help balance it out. And you're exactly right. I kind of started to feel like in this episode, I'm like, okay, now they're getting weird or getting quirky for the sake of quirky, not because it's adding to the town or to the story.
No, it's just padding the episode.
Exactly. They use it as padding, and that's the problem.
And that's that's what made season 1 work so great, because there was very little padding, just because it was mostly plot orientated. Even when it delved into like the C&D plots, it treated it with respect, which now it's not being treated with respect. It's being treated with camp.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. Well, speaking of quirk
and camp, and camp, say a little bit of racism too.
Yeah, I don't want to get in this quite yet, because I don't want to give it away till we get to the reveal. And we'll get to the massive racism, but there is racism going on here with Ben Horn meeting with Mr. Tujimura.
Tujimura, yeah. Tujimura's just kind of sitting in his office.
Mm-hmm.
And and we got Hank Jennings kind of like hiding in like the wood panels. And look, this is like doubling down on the idiocy of the Ghostwood project from season 1, in that I don't understand what the hell they're doing, because it doesn't make sense that they're entertaining taking money from this Japanese investor with the Icelanders and just kind of pocketing it. I don't understand what the point is here. But Ben just has a $5 million check fall in his lap.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about that.
Because it makes no sense to me. It doesn't. I'm not a business guy, but it seems like if none of this makes sense. Logically, I can't figure out the thread to this.
Well, yeah, because he's already got the deal signed, right? He's already got the deal signed by the
Icelanders.
Icelanders, right? Because first it was the Norwegians, then it was the Icelanders, now it's the Japanese. Knowing what we know, I want to talk briefly about this. I don't want to give it away. Knowing what we know and who Tajimura turns out to be, and how this plot line, where it goes. How the fuck did this person get $5 million from an Asian investment group and a perspective in the number of days that it would take them to really get this? Also, even though there's a Stop Ghostwood project sign out there, this was still a secret fucking deal. So wouldn't that also throw Ben Horn off and go, wait a minute, what is this? And why does he have a fucking check made out to Ben Horn for $5 million? Which becomes a problem later, by the way, that check's actually made out to Ben Horn for $5 million. But instead he decides he's going to take this $5 million, which makes me wonder how much he got from the Norwegians, and it doesn't make sense. It really, I feel like this part of it, when the writers were doing it, they weren't thinking about anything business sense or anything. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't think they were thinking. This makes zero sense to me, even in the long run, and how it turns out. I think there was a better way of doing it. Besides this, they would at least try to make sense as, the reveal, maybe the person who is behind Mr. Tajimura.
Right.
Would at least, we'd know maybe where some of these funds could have came from.
Right.
But now we're under the assumption that this stranger shows up at the Great Northern to get in on the worst business deal in television history.
Right. Well, and Ben doesn't want to deal with this because he's got Cooper on the way to talk about getting him, because they got a call coming in from the kidnappers of Audrey.
Yeah. Or are you saying the businessman doesn't want the feds going about the world's worst business deal?
Oh my God, what the fuck? Yeah, and he makes more bad deals and more bad decisions.
Yeah, and it becomes a Civil War general. But we'll get to that when we get to
that part. But yeah, so anyway, they get Ben doesn't know that Cooper knows where Audrey actually is. They set up this convoluted deal where Cooper has to drop off $125,000. He leaves.
It's like an abandoned amusement park or something.
Yeah, in Canada. And because there's tons of those.
Man, Six Flags Canada just did not work out.
Was there a Disneyland Canada? I can't remember. So then he sends Hank, and why we find out Hank's there is because fucking Hank is supposed to follow Cooper and the money and make sure that get Audrey back and the money back, which is just would have just caused all sorts of issues.
Yeah, but under the impression that Cooper isn't coming back. So now the logic to this is he thinks that Hank, this schmuck, is going to be able to overpower not only Agent Cooper, who we've seen has prowess in martial arts, gun training, and all sorts of craziness, on top of hired goons from Canada. Hank Jennings, the guy who just sucks on dominoes and got his ass handed to him in the last episode we watched.
Right. Yeah, and he got beat up pretty good. Where's his marks? Where's his stuff?
Oh God. Yeah. The cracks are showing, people.
The cracks are showing. So then we get to oh God. And then
Michael Burks.
Oh, wait, not yet.
We got Donna and Maddie hatching a scheme.
Yes, we got Donna and Maddie for Donna's Nancy Drew mystery, and Donna's still pissed off at Maddie and kind of passive aggressively uses that against her to get her to help.
Yeah. Donna is just
all over the place this season.
Yeah, tonally she's all over it. Again, it feels like creative heads are butting and clashing at this point where they just don't know what to do with Donna and Maddie and James. And that's telling because we don't see a whole lot of James in this episode.
No.
This is the decline of James in that he's not that essential to the story.
No, and I think that's part of it. Well, I think also this had to deal with the fact that you had Laura Flynn Boyle going on in the background.
Yeah.
You have that whole fucking deal going on. I think this is part of it. So now we get to Michael Parks.
And I love Michael Parks so much. He's in so many like movies. We've brought it up. He plays like the same sheriff from Dusk Till Dawn to Kill Bill. Like he's like he has this like sheriff character that just shows up in these Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez movies.
Yes.
I love him. He's a great character actor. He's great in like horror movies and whatever. Here he's doing his best taxi driver thing where he has the thing on his sleeve to pull a gun out or something.
It was a knife, not a gun. It was the knife.
Yeah, so
it's the yes.
So Travis Bickle smarter than Jean Reno is what we're saying.
A little bit.
At least he brought a gun to a knife fight.
Side note: did you ever watch Spiker yet?
Not yet. No.
Okay, you got it. Yeah. Let me know when you see Spiker because I think you're gonna really enjoy that. And yeah, it's fantastic.
And so the plan is they're gonna hotshot Audrey so they don't have to deal with her because she's the only one that can link Blackie and One-Eyed Jacks and the Renaults to Ben, which would be catastrophic for these two-bit because Ben's a multimillionaire. He has resources, even though he goes to schmucks like Leo Johnson for some reason.
Well, and here we get bad business deal number 2, right? What you have is they want to use they're gonna OD Audrey. And then the idea with the knife that shoots out is when they're doing the exchange, she's going to stab Cooper with it. Then they want to use that money, the $125,000, to buy out Ben Horn and make and own One-Eyed Jacks. It's a brothel and a casino. I'm assuming it's worth more than $125,000. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Maybe it's a Trump casino? I mean, those would be worth less than $100,000, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he bankrupted them.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't make money off a casino, they're not worth shit. Topical humor. Anyway,
humor. No, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, I know it's over the border, I know it's in Canada, but it's a casino brothel. That's got to be bringing in a lot of money. I mean, the chips, they have $1,000 poker chips.
It's a combination that should just be a money machine for them.
Yeah, and they're going to sit there and do $125,000, which Ben Horn has no problem getting. And we know that he's not making the money off his other thing. We know, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking $125,000 is a little low if you're trying to buy out a fucking brothel casino. Now, I haven't bought out a brothel casino yet, but I would imagine it's going to cost me a lot more than $125,000 and an OD daughter.
Yeah, unless it's a Trump one.
Unless it's a Trump one. Well, no, because he'll do it just so if I OD Tiffany, you know.
And we know how if Ivanka was in that room with them, like Audrey and Ben, but that's more of a Trump's fantasy than our fantasy, I'd imagine.
Right.
So that happens. Oh, now we cut to Andy.
Andy, he's the whole damn town.
Yeah, he's the whole damn town. I don't care. This is getting into his terrible, terrible, terrible F plot of Andy could be the father of Lucy's child. I don't care at this point. I just don't care.
I'm just out with this.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, the only thing I liked is how excited he was that he was a whole damn town.
Yeah.
And apparently the can-do girl can't do because she didn't show up.
Yeah. She didn't show up, so they put Andy on desk, which is probably, probably for the best.
Agreed.
And so, but we do get some information that Phil Gerard has not been seen in a few days, and that the medication he uses has a weird smell to it.
And no, they haven't gotten to that part yet. Nope. Okay. Yep,
No, they
yep,
bring it
right.
up here. They do bring it up here that because Hawk has some of it from his room.
Oh yes, deep smell. Deep smell.
Deep smell. Yep, a
Yeah.
deep smell to it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. But there's another part where they bring up in the next episode.
The next episode, we'll get some more into it. Yeah.
So then,
Donna's pervy story to Harold.
Oh God. Oh, this part was uncomfortable.
What, you weren't rock hard listening to her story?
No, not with Josh, Rick, and Tim from the Roadhouse.
I thought it was Squee. Tobin, Squee, and
Oh God. Oh God. And was Epstein in there as well? Was Epstein in there?
Tobin, and Squee. They like beer.
They like beer. Oh God.
They like beer.
Oh God.
Stay brave.
Oh God.
But yeah, so Don has this really just kind of pervy story where Donna is getting three teamed. Laura's getting 3 teamed by these guys because Donna swam away.
Yeah, and what's very interesting to me on this.
And Harold thought it was a beautiful story.
Yes, yeah. Well, Harold thought it was a beautiful story, but if you remember in Fire Walk with Me, this is very, very, very similar to what went on at the Bang Bang Bar at the Roadhouse.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the Roadhouse in Fire Walk with Me. That was
I'm sorry, that was the Bang Bang Bar. That was the Bang Bang Bar.
In Fire Walk with Me?
I thought it was, wasn't it?
I thought it was in Canada.
Me? Okay, I
thought it was the bar that.
I thought they just.
Oh, that was that. Spoilers that Sarah Palmer goes to in The Return.
Oh, maybe it is.
And shows her face.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it is. All I know is it's similar to the bar. It's similar to the
Jacques
bar.
working there. Well, Jacques there, but he's more like running the prostitutes. I don't think the Bang Bang Bar is going to have like an orgy room.
True.
It's called the Pink Room.
The Pink Room.
Talk with me, but
yeah, but it's very similar. Anyway, the point is that it's very similar to the Pink Room story, right?
Yeah, where they're just. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, both stories are pretty pervy. I mean,
yes.
We just happened to see it in Fire Walk with Me, but this it kind of shows that this isn't Donna's first exposure to Laura's other life.
Yes, and it was, and again, he's talking about this beautiful. I never saw Tim again. What a beautiful story! It was the first time I fell in love. What? What the fuck, Donna? Okay, maybe you need to be going to therapy. Maybe you need to be seeing Jacoby.
I've never felt so in love than seeing Donna get banged by Laura get banged by 3 dudes.
Yeah.
True love that day. What?
Yes. So it's just, it's so fucked up. So, yeah, Harold is getting hard on this one and really wants to fuck Donna after hearing her hanging out with 3 fucking backwoodsmen named Josh, Rick, and Tim. Meanwhile,
what about Tobin and Squee?
Tobin and Squee and Epstein. Can't forget Epstein. So then it cuts back to, and the other thing I have issues with this is, again, so again, I know we're jumping ahead to Fire Walk with Me, but when that happened and Laura saw what was going on in the Pink Room, Laura lost her shit.
Yeah, because Donna was drugged.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even here, Donna is skinny dipping. with these guys and making out with one of them. And, Don and Laura wants, basically get freehold. And I
Well,
would,
Laura's making money. She's prostituting in Fire Walk with Me.
yeah, that's
Where
true.
Donna wasn't this,
Yeah, I wonder if maybe I don't. I just does this not feel like it's not really in Donna's character to be in that situation?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it at all. I mean, it felt the way they do it in Fire Walk with Me, it felt a little more natural.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they kept the character consistent in Fire Walk with Me instead of being tonally all over the map.
Oh God. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's just the tonal shifts here of Donna's character is just infuriating. Moving on, fucking A. We get to the raid on One-Eyed Jacks.
And let me just say, Cooper is an FBI agent. Harry Truman is a lawman from Washington. They're on an international soil doing vigilante justice.
Oh God, and it is vigilante. I mean, this is Commando. This is 1980s Commandos here. So, yep, and they sneak in. They don't, no masks, no disguises this time, and kind of get their way in. And Harry somehow knows that who those people are.
Yeah, he would know who Jean is at least.
Yeah, I suppose he would.
He has run-ins with the Renaults.
Yeah. So he would know who Jean is. So they're getting the smack needle made up, and Harry stays, and then they go, and then they cut back to Donna and Harold, where they
Harold's
make out.
yammering on about flowers or whatever.
Yep, and he finally kisses her. He makes his move, kisses her, and then he has to go jerk off.
He wants to get some mouthwash after that taste of cigarettes and bourbon out of her.
Jesus. Probably had to get probably his tongue was tingling from the coke that she gummied.
Yeah, I can't feel my tongue.
Can't feel my tongue. I gotta go. So then, yeah.
Cooper gets spotted by Blackie's sister.
Yeah.
And she forces her to bring him to Audrey. And when she tries to pull a knife, Cooper has no qualms. He just beats the shit out of her.
Dude, he gut punched. He punched her in the womb, dude.
Yeah, she's never having kids again.
No,
ovaries are crushed.
Yeah, he broke her ovaries on that punch, dude. Did you hear the sound effect of that? That was brutal. It was a really blunt punch to the fucking... Yeah, all of her eggs are crushed, dude. No babies. John and Blackie are not making babies anytime soon. But what's really interesting is that she plays the whole, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He tells her to shut up. And then he can see the mirror that she's taken out. I mean, again, it just goes to show how awesome Cooper is. And that she's pulling the knife out that they foreshadowed earlier out of her sock. And so, yeah, then he beats the shit out of her. And then John kills Blackie with the hidden knife. And then he starts shooting at Truman with a silencer. Didn't see a silencer on that gun.
It would look like a little pea shooter too. Like, why would you fit a silencer on that?
That's my point, right? I mean, yeah, that's like a fucking Saturday night special.
Yeah, I don't know anything about guns. I don't know much about guns, but I don't know if you can put a silencer on a little snub-nosed or whatever.
No.
I could be wrong.
No, you can't. So that was the weird thing. And again, a silencer is fairly long. And I mean, what you see in a silencer in a movie is not what a silencer sounds like in real life.
No, because the silencers are still loud. Because gunshots are incredibly loud. Like, if you've never shot a gun before, they're fucking loud. And even with a silencer, it's still loud. It's just not as loud.
Yes. And but you can't put a silencer on a gun like that. It doesn't.
A little snub nose.
Yeah.
Gun.
It doesn't work. No,
yeah.
It doesn't work. So anyways.
So they're carrying Audrey out because Jean Renault's a quick one. He escapes.
He escaped really fast.
This is my favorite thing. It's like they're walking to the exit, and a guy who looks almost exactly like John Taffert from Bar Rescue is the guy or goon. like I saw that and I was just like, oh, John Taffer's here to yell at the bar, giving away drinks and like yell at the hookers, like, you're not charging enough. What is this?
Right?
But Hawk throws a knife in his back.
Yes, that was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, Hawk is one of my favorite characters in this
Hawk
show.
is the shit. Hawk is the absolute shit.
And like Secret History made me just love him even more. And then he plays such a big role in The Return too. I love Hawk.
Yeah, dude, and he threw that knife and killed that dude.
Yeah,
right?
he killed a guy on international soil.
He killed a guy on
Remember
international
Bobby
soil.
killed that cop? Because I'm never gonna forget the time Bobby Briggs killed a cop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring every review, even if Bobby's not in the episode. I have to remind people that Bobby Briggs killed a cop.
Dude, Bobby Briggs killed a cop. And then he became a cop, but we'll get to that later. So then
we go back to Harold's now.
Nope, not yet. Not yet.
Wait, no.
Hank.
Yeah, Hank. He has the D because he pocketed the DA's wallet. So now John thinks Hank is part of the district attorney's office in Washington State.
Well, and this is the funny thing. Does he? Because he does say, oh yeah, he's a fat one. Or she makes a comment about Ludwig's weight. So I don't, what the fuck? And he doesn't look anything, and because it has a picture of him, right? It has his picture on the badge.
I don't know. All white people look the same to me, Paul.
All right, fair enough. So now we get back to Harold's.
Yeah, where Harold gets deceived. Donna, she ushers Maddie in. Maddie's just fucking butterfingers or fucking just klutzing around. Like she finds the hidden passage and like the shelf just like falls right out, hitting Harold's attention. And Harold sees that he's been duped.
Harold's pissed. And now
he's got this claw thing that already has blood on it.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to see if I knew you were going to catch it, but I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, the blood, because when he brushes it by his face, he gets a bit of blood on his cheek.
Yep.
But to prove how upset he is, he claws his face.
Yes.
With what looks like smeared ketchup. That's on.
So
he just looks like a toddler who just went crazy with fries and ketchup.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so fakey. So this ends this particular episode. So you had I don't know. What do you well, okay, because really to me this is a two-parter because the next episode
picks immediately up where we left off.
Yeah, he's scratching his face. Yep.
Yeah, we're picking up with like and it's just it's so stupid. So what they do is like, Harold freaks out and he wants, they're about to this is the second time that Donna ends up leaving the diary with Harold because she's not good at this. Harold goes after them because he wants the diary. James comes in out of nowhere, kind of like blocks him, and then like they all run out and they drop it, and Harold just keeps the diary. So he still has the diary. So this is all for no good reason.
And what I love is there's three of them, and all he has is a fucking a tiny ass gardening rake. They could have easily had overwhelmed him and gotten that diary.
Yeah, but they didn't. They didn't. But they're breaking into his house, trying to steal his property. I mean, this will go back to like in law enforcement. Even if that diary is considered, even if it named the killer of Laura Palmer, how they went about to get it would have been inadmissible.
Yeah. Yes. So
that's a big if it's said. It doesn't say who killed Laura Palmer.
So there's a couple of interesting things that happen here.
But James, James does have, Donna finally says to James, maybe we should just go to the sheriff. You should have done this.
Yes.
Episodes ago.
Yes. Absolutely, he does. And so, yeah, which they should have done that a long time ago, like when you had the fucking necklace. So, couple of things here that happened I thought were really interesting and lead to a conversation we had in the last episode, which was Harold makes comments that Donna's a liar, that she's unclean and she contaminated him. And then when they're
he turns into Ruxin from the League, forever unclean.
So then, but did you notice that he sounded like Bob? They use like the Bob effect, the howling that he does in his house.
Yeah, that's why another reason why I kind of feel like he might have been Lodge adjacent, like Lodge sensitive, if you will.
Yeah. That's very much where it comes. I mean, I wonder if he wasn't like I said, I would wonder if he wasn't a lodge, or at least housing something from the lodge.
Yeah, I think he might have been housing because when they do go to his house, that'll be in the next episode, I believe, or maybe the episode after the reveal. That he is very much a person in this world, and he's you know.
Well, yes, but there is something that comes up with that later, but we'll get to that when we get there, right? So next, Coop, Audrey, Coop, Truman, and Hawk take Audrey to the book house.
Not a hospital.
Not a hospital. She's detoxing on heroin.
A very difficult thing to detox from, considering it. It's something you want to happen in a hospital, not in the book house.
Right.
I mean, granted, she wasn't on it for a super long time, but I would probably play it safe and bring her to Doc Hayward at least.
Yeah, that's my thought. Why Doc Hayward's been in everything so far? Why the fuck isn't he there for this? So yeah, once again we get the awesome chemistry between Sherilyn Flynn and Kyle MacLachlan. They're just awesome whenever they're on screen together. So that was that's super shitty. So then they're just kind of, doing their thing, and then James and Donna are sent home, and that's about it. They make out, and then they're back. So they leave Donna at the book house with Hawk, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they keep her there, and then Cooper, he's kind of having a realization that he's been fucking up a lot. He's violated his job. Like, it's kind of hitting home now. Like, he may have in his mind, I may have made a huge mistake here.
Yes, and they're going through the mugshots, and they see that Jean Renault, and it's this whole thing. Yeah, he was the intended. Audrey was the bait. He gets upset. He realizes that he's totally fucked up, and Truman kind of talks him down a little bit, and they calm down, and then Cooper runs into Ben and gives him the ransom money and tells him that she was being held at One-Eyed Jack's.
Yeah, he doesn't care about any of this until he brings up the fact that they're going to OD her, and she's like detoxing off of heroin right now. That's when Ben's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, they tried to kill my daughter. Like, this wasn't like the games he plays with other things. Like, this is like, oh shit, this is serious. You kind of see that in Ben there.
Yeah. And it's the one time when he hugs Cooper that you actually start to see some, what I felt was genuine emotion and concern from Ben Horn.
Yeah. I mean, he has it. He's a real big prick, but like, when it comes to like family matters, he genuinely seems to care. And they make it more apparent also in Secret History.
Yes, they do. They make it very apparent in Secret History. So then we get D-Plot.
Yeah, Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld, Elaine Vince's boss. Yep. Is the insurance man. And Leo's in the cheapest wheelchair they could find. And they get the check, and what is it for, like $700?
$700 a month. Yep.
Because the insurance company's just milking them for all. So they're getting scammed. Their intention was to scam the insurance company, but then the insurance company flipped it back on them and is scamming them.
Yes.
Because he's like administrative costs and all this, like he's just fleecing them.
Yeah, and this is at that point, I feel like the better ending of this would have been, they just fucking take Leo out and back and kill him. Like that would have been best. Just put him in the lake. Just put him in the lake. Let's be done.
Just roll him down in the lake and.
Yep, roll him down the lake. So then Donna is finally at the sheriff's station telling Truman about Harold. And
Harry's kind of annoyed by this too.
Very. He's like, stop it with your Donna Drew mysteries.
Yeah, just knock it off. But we finally meet Gordon Cole. We finally get David Lynch doing his Hitchcockian, cameo. But instead of doing a cameo, he's like, I'm a full-on character, damn it.
I'm gonna be a character, which is really interesting because he didn't write this episode. And everything that was going on, he wasn't too happy with what the show was. So it seemed very interesting to me that he was in this. You know what I mean?
He also, like, in the dregs, he would also do the voiceover phone call to Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
In, like, some of the later episodes when he was pretty much done. But I think he liked playing the character enough to that he would just let it go just because he was having fun. It's kind of like Larry David did the same thing in Seinfeld when he left. He still did the voice of George Steinbrenner, even though he had nothing to do with the show anymore.
Yeah, true. All right. Fair enough. I like that. So
Gordon comes in yelling because he is hard of hearing. He can't hear. He says his what are those things? Hearing aids are up to the max, and he still struggles due to something that happened in the past. And I'm trying to remember. I don't even know if Secret History even went into what happened to Gordon Cole's hearing.
Yeah, they do the snap Gordon. Cooper, good to see ya.
Yeah, but it's just Harry. He's misunderstanding everything. He's like, come to my office. No, I have already ate breakfast.
Yep, he's misunderstanding everything. And he takes him in the office to have a private conversation, and everyone can hear it, and he basically dresses down Cooper hard.
Yeah, as he should. Cooper.
As he should.
But he does fill us in on Albert. Well, Cooper's not here yet. We're still with Harry. He's telling Harry, though, about Albert's findings. And he says Albert, the drug of Philip Gerard, is a drug they have never seen before. And they get into it a little bit later. But then the one-armed man walks by, and Gordon Cole just screams, there's the one armor now!
There's the one armor. He calls it the one armor. There's the one armor now. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so they find out that they couldn't, that they have, it's a really strange medicine that he's on, and that Coop was shot from someone wearing a Vacuna coat, which, if you're paying attention, probably only one person in town has a Vacuna coat.
Yeah. Maybe a person who goes on elaborate shopping sprees, because this person might have that kind of cash.
That person might have that kind of cash. And the paper found near the bloody towel on the tracks was from a diary. So that also leads more credence to what Donna was saying.
Yeah, there's the diary, but this is the diary papers, as we see in Fire Walk. Is it from the secret diary, or is it from her other? I think it's from the secret diary. Then that's why Laura hides it with Harold.
I think so.
Because she comes home and finds Bob pilfering through her stuff.
Yes, and I think it's from the actual secret one, not the original one.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep. Yeah, although I think they do say that there was pages missing out of her normal diary too, so it could be from either. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll
So,
get into that because in the return we find there's at least one page we'll never really find out about.
mhm.
But so we get into more Audrey's coming out of her drug stupor, and she's kind of like she's pissed at her dad.
Oh,
She's
so
like, I
pissed.
saw things, and like it didn't feel like Ben was picking up on what she was hinting at.
No. Well, I think it was enough by the end though, because he wasn't going to let
Cooper
Cooper
drive her home.
Trooper drive her home. I think he kind of figured some stuff out.
Yeah. So we get some of that, and then we got the not Nadine nonsense. Don't care. We get to Josie now. Josie, this scene was pretty menacing. It's implied that Josie just got raped
Yeah.
by that Japanese man that we've seen.
Jonathan.
Jonathan, yeah.
Jonathan. Yeah.
And he wants, yeah, it's not like, this didn't seem consensual.
No.
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 And the way he's treating her, like, basically wants her to get back to Japan for Mr. Eckhart, which is, yeah, the Eckhart thing.
The storyline will come when it comes.
Yeah. A whole bunch of who gives a fuck is basically my stance on Eckhart.
Yeah, and then I think we get a little bit of Nadine, which was just she's still convinced that she's young. I don't know.
Her parents are still in Europe. Who gives a
yeah? Her parents are in Europe. That's right. That's right.
Sorry, listeners, if you're really into that Nadine storyline, we're not. And I really don't want to dwell on it as more than I have to. Then we get now. This is heartbreaking in a sense in that what we know is coming in the next episode is Maddie is sitting at the dock, and we get like the full Twin Peaks theme song going.
Yes.
And James comes riding up, and they're kind of talking about like, wow, it's been a crazy couple days, huh? We buried your cousin, and now we're like, we gave a man a heart attack, and like another guy we drove insane. Wow, it's been a real whirlwind. Cocaine was planted in my motorcycle. Man, it's been a weird 3 days, huh?
Yeah, that's and that's the other thing that I was thinking about this is that it's crazy to me because it felt a lot, obviously it was longer, it felt longer than what it actually was in the show, but I was kind of saying to myself, she took a couple days off. The funeral was fucking season 1. How long has she been off of work? For her cousin's death. Fuck, most jobs I've worked at, you get like fucking 3 days of bereavement for fucking, immediate family. You don't get dick for fucking cousins that aren't even in the same fucking state.
Yeah, and is she supposed to be older than Laura? I don't know. What did they say that? Because I wasn't even sure. I thought she might have been the same age.
No,
but
I think
question, like, where are Maddie's parents during all this?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was wondering too. Where's Maddie's parents? And I think she makes mention. Sorry, my mic moved. That she has a job that she needed to get back to. So yeah, it was just kind of weird. Like it felt like she had no life outside of Twin Peaks, right?
Yeah, it's been a weird 3 days, Paul. A lot has happened. 3 days.
Oh, the other thing that we missed going back just a little bit was that Truman shows up after Josie's rape, and she tells him that she's leaving for Hong Kong. She sold the mill. He's out, and it just devastates him because he's in love with her and tells her that he loves her and all that kind of happy shit. Okay, so now getting back to this conversation, go ahead, Joe, because this is, as you said, a sad scene.
So they're kind of reflecting on the past few days, and then she's like, I'm going to go home. She's going back to Missoula, I think is where she said. Missoula, Montana is where she lives.
Yep, Missoula, Montana.
And she's going there the next day. And it's just heartbreaking because I like Maddie as a character. I don't think she was fleshed out, but like, Maddie doesn't make it to Montana is what I'm going to say. She's basically a plot device for the reveal.
Yes, which will come up next episode.
Yeah. So it's just heartbreaking because she doesn't make it.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah.
And
So it kind of has a little more of a, yeah, more of a downing, more depressing every time I see this, just because, like, she's a nice enough character. And it's just like knowing what happens is like, oh, Jesus.
she's a very nice character. She's a very great character. And so yeah, they do the whole thing. They do the scene out there, and they kind of explain things, and then you find out that she they kind of that those two did actually start to kind of have feelings for each other, which is kind of odd in a way, but it is what it is.
And then James is like, so I guess this is goodbye. And she's like, yeah. And it's just like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the last time you guys are talking.
This is the last time you guys are talking, and she just walks off. So then we get back to
D
Ben.
plot.
D plot.
But I do like this. Josie and Ben, they
Yes.
Josie wants the money because she has to go back to Japan now.
Hong
And
Kong.
she has the Hong Kong. And she has Pete's signature on the whatchamahoozy
On the sell of the mill.
sill of the mill. But she's not going to give it to Ben until she gets her cut. And he's just like, well, I mean, we have to wait for all. He's bullshitting. He doesn't want to pay her.
Right.
I'm sure he has a plan where he just cuts her out completely. And she's like, no, you get it now, or you're not getting these papers. And then we kind of have like this kind of standoff. And it's funny because Ben's like, I have a dossier with all this information on you. And she's like, yeah, see, if I go missing, this is going to lead to people to this safe deposit box with all this incriminating evidence that will put you in prison for 3 lifetimes.
Right.
Where she's basically like, fuck you, Hayseed. Like, you don't know who you're messing with.
Well, that's the other thing. Again, when you look at the secret history and like, this is far more interesting to me. Like, I think that's part of the reason why I enjoy this more is because you know what Josie is, and you're just like, dude, you do not want to fuck with this. You do not want to fuck with this Ben Horn at all. So yeah, so eventually he signs over the check, and
the $5 million check that Mr. Tajamar
gave him, which is in his name, not hers. How the fuck is she gonna cash that?
Maybe he scribbled out his name and put hers.
What the fuck? I mean, and $5 million? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, a bank teller's not going to bat an eye with a name scribbled out and put another name put in for $5 million, right?
Right. And so then it makes me wonder, okay, so is that, how, it must have been the sell of the mill.
Yeah.
How much was that? I mean, if $5 million, he's like, win some, lose some, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, is this the $5 million, I think, in Ben's mind, it's peanuts based on like the development that he has planned for Ghostwood and the. So I think it's just like it's a hit definitely, but I think he knows he's going to make his money eventually out of it anyway. So it's just like, all right, better to placate her than make a scene.
But again, Josie got $5 million out of fucking Ben Horn, $5 million out of Ben Horn. And the fucking ransoming drug people wanted 125,000, and they were gonna kill his daughter for it. You know what I mean?
And he was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, fucking crazy, right? Like that's what it meant to me.
I mean, Ben's like us; we don't take Canadians seriously.
Yeah, that's true. They got goofy heads. So,
oh no. Okay, now I'm seeing my notes. Bobby, Shelley, and Leo are having a party.
Oh God, I hated this.
This is when, Leo should have been written out. I don't know what was going on with Bobby's character, where all of a sudden it's just like he's not into Shelley anymore.
Well,
he starts slowly just like not giving a crap that he put her in this really crappy situation.
Yeah, considering that they wrote him in the beginning of the season that these two were really going to be together and do these cool, have their own kind of plot going, and then also like all of a sudden they're concerned about Leo, like, oh man, Leo, no, I guess we got a little out of hand. Sorry, Leo. This is a guy
they become concerned is when Shelley sees Leo move.
Well, yes, I understand that, but I mean, again, I also just felt like, dude, this is a guy that tried to fucking kill you, and do all this shit, and just let him fucking drown in the cake. Say, just kill him off. Say, oh my god, I wasn't paying attention. He drowned in the soup bowl.
Yeah, they should have just killed Leo too at this point, because Leo doesn't even have anything, and like even like he does become like a somewhat. He's not even important in the Wyndham Earl story. Like he's just more of like a Wyndham Earl's plaything for torture.
It fucking sucks. It fucking sucks.
It's just like if I was Eric DeRay, I'd have been like, "What am I doing?" Like you guys, like they just basically weekend at Bernieing him. Right now.
Essentially. So then we get to Cole and Cooper, right?
Today you remind me of a small Mexican Chihuahua.
What is this about a Chihuahua? Yeah.
I have a feeling Lynch ad-libbed that one.
I have a feeling as well. So then they go back.
They got to speak in private too.
Yeah, they got to speak in private, which doesn't happen.
With the world's loudest man.
Yep. And this is where he gets dressed down again. Where he says Albert thinks he's over his head, that he got shot in Pittsburgh, and this visibly affects Cooper, right?
Yeah. It brings back what happened in Pittsburgh, which is connected to what Gordon lays down next, because we'll find out Pittsburgh, something went awry on a case, and it was because Cooper got too involved.
Yep. And
the Bureau got an anonymous letter sent. It just says P to K4. And this is Wyndham Earl starting to play games. And like,
you like this more than me. Go ahead.
Wyndham Earl, we'll get into it, but I think it was a great idea and concept in that there's somebody who's because so far in Twin Peaks, Cooper's always been the smartest guy in the room.
Absolutely.
And what they were building with Wyndham Earl as his foil is that Wyndham Earl's smarter than Cooper, and he's more conniving than Cooper. He's like evil Cooper. So like when Cooper kind of like puts on, the blinders so he doesn't see like a lot of it, like Wyndham Earl's not inhabited. He's not constrained by rules or anything, which would have made for a much more interesting character.
Agreed. And I feel like when they set this up, yes, I liked it.
Like I liked it, and it's like, to me it was like if they're gonna do the reveal, like and what they didn't do is like after the reveal they should have brought Wyndham Earl in full power at that point, because they just sit around and not do anything for fucking 10 episodes.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. So then, after Ben experiencing what happened with Audrey, he genuinely actually starts to understand. Is like, hey, Leland, I'm bringing you back in. I totally understand what you've gone through with me dealing with what happened with Audrey.
Plus, Jerry's heading to Japan and look into this Japanese.
Exactly. Yep. Jerry's in Japan. Mm-hmm. So he brings them in and asks them how they can do this. And do you want to kind of elaborate a little bit on this scene, or?
Well, the only thing that really stood out to me, because it was just more of their business mom, what basically Leland suggests is putting it off, throwing the escrow into like purgatory so they can just buy time and shit like that. The thing and this was another like red herring and basically another, I mean, if you were listening to this, you already know who the reveal is. There's kind of a reveal here in that like Leland keeps looking at the stuffed wolf. He's getting really distracted by it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like implying like, and it has like the same color hair as him. So it's just kind of like a predator meets predator type thing.
Yep. And then he does this really weird thing where he actually pulls some fur off. He's not paying attention. He's kind of going off in La La Land again. And he, puts it in his pocket. He's like, oh, sorry, puts this in his pocket. And then Leland gets back to, hey, yep, you're going to do the escrow, you're going to do this, yep. And overall, it was just kind of a scene that does have purpose.
Yeah.
It does have purpose.
Yeah. Again, this I think with Lynch on set, I think there's a little bit of like keeping this episode more coherent and less rambling.
Yes.
And like he's not the director, but it'd be hard for me to think that he wasn't guiding a bit if they're going to have him on set anyway.
Yep. No, again, I apologize. I got my notes a little mixed up here. Now's the part where Truman finds that Josie's leaving.
Yep. Don't care.
Don't care. Okay, we already talked about it. Okay.
So now we're at the Great Northern with Ben and Mr. Tajimura. And Tajimura's not happy. Like Ben's like treating him like an idiot.
Yep.
Which is like that's a red herring in of itself.
Yes.
This whole scene with Tajimura is, I mean, if it made me realize I was kind of a dumb shit for not seeing it ahead of time, especially because Leland starts singing for no reason. It's a red herring. It's a red herring. Music's always in the air, so whenever Leland's always has music around him, and Pete seems to take a liking to Mr. Tajimura, or not a liking, just like he's very interested in this this stranger, and it's like you can tell in his eyes like this. There's something familiar about Mr. Tajimura.
I love Pete's interaction though with Mr. Tajimura.
I do too, like especially as that big beer stein of
milk. Yeah, no,
it's such a Pete thing.
It is a Pete thing. It is a Pete thing. But I also think, knowing what we know, they weren't going to give anything close to beer to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So, to Jack Nance.
Based in real life. I mean,
based on real life. Yeah, they weren't going to put beer anywhere near Jack Nance. So, but
Pete's not a drinker.
No, but he's talking to him, and I forget what he says to him at first, and then I love just Pete's innocence. You're not from around here, are you?
Tajimura is just like, there's this banter between them where it's like there's like a familiarity, and it's just like shut up, Pete.
Yep, shut up, Pete. That's exactly what's going on there. So then we get to the kind of the crescendo of these two episodes.
Yeah, this is when we get dropped with all sorts of bombs. We're getting Pearl Harbored here.
You're hardcore, just like we were with Mr. Tajimura.
So Mike, Philip Gerard he's being interrogated, and Cooper's denying him his medication. And we find out that the medication is a weird mix with haloperidol.
Yep.
Haloperidol, which is for schizophrenia.
Yes.
And some other things. And after being denied it for a while, Mike comes out. And we talked about this last episode, if he was a parasite or something. And I think we were pretty much right in what he was, because he kind of explains it here.
Yes.
Mike comes out, he says he's an inhabiting spirit, where he implies Bob is more of a parasite.
Exactly. Yes, and I had completely forgot about that. Right? Like
I forgot about this whole thing at the end. So
yeah,
it's like, so yeah. When it turns out is Mike, he even says, what does he say about him and Philip in that? He's like he only comes out when he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
He won't take over the body.
Correct.
Unless he absolutely has to, and when he absolutely has to is when he senses Bob is nearby.
Yes, because he's dedicated his life to destroying Bob. Yes.
Yeah, and I totally forgot this too, but it felt weird, just out of character if Mike would have been like Bob as a parasite. He seems like such a benevolent, or not, such a like for good, that it just would seem out of character for like a large entity like that. But so he basically says he comes out when he senses Bob because he doesn't want to put Philip
in danger.
Yep.
And because he and Bob, they were familiars.
Yes, they kind of like two sides of the same coin type of thing.
Well, and what's interesting is that when you look at the term familiar, and I think of familiar in terms of um, like witchcraft, paganism, warlockism, that type of thing. So you have like the magician, and then a familiar is usually a demon or a entity that obeys or attends to the warlock or the witch. So what's interesting is to me that or familiar. I mean, much like the owls are not what they seem, and owls being that, you know. So it seems to me that like when Mike saw the face of God and cut off his arm, Bob was kind of set free, and it's just this non-thinking evil thing, right?
Well, the arm does, and the arm is. We'll find out. Fire Walk with Me is the little man from another place. Is Mike's arm.
Yes.
It's the thing that kind of still binds them together.
Yes.
But Mike is no longer connected to it. But when he needs to speak to Bob, he has to go to the lodge and speak through the arm, which eventually becomes a bubblegum tree.
Oh, fuck, we'll get to that. Which was a big.
That seems like something a schizophrenic would say, but no, people, this is what happens in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, this is what happens.
Buckle up, everybody. We're in for a ride.
Yeah, and and what I love about that though is there's a bunch of fuck yous to that. There's a bunch of things that he's saying fuck you to with that bubblegum tree. So then, and he, when Mike won't say where Bob comes from or where they come from, that cannot be revealed. But when he asks what he wants, he says Bob is eager for fun.
Yeah, he feeds on fear and pleasure. They are his children.
They are his children. And what does he say? I don't have this fully written down, but
those who see him are either the gifted or the damned.
Yes. And then he says, when Bob, when he wears a smile, everybody run, Yeah. And so they go through all this, and then they start doing the chant together.
Yeah, the Fire Walk with Me poem.
Oh, mm-hmm. Which is through the darkness of future past, the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds. Fire Walk with Me.
I know that by memory too. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Watch this
so many times that yes, I have that committed to memory. And when so Mike says he stays close to Gerard and enters him when he needs to stop Bob, and and he asks him where Bob is, and if Bob's near, and he said for nearly 40 years. And the way he describes it, I think he says
rooms occupied by souls, many come in, many come out, that sort of thing. Basically, he's basically describing the Great Northern.
Yes.
And there's going to be some interesting trivia I'm going to bring up in the next episode, and that they actually shot 2 reveals.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But they've only ever released the one, and we'll talk about it with Lonely Souls next week. But yeah, basically they wanted to throw the cast and everybody off on who killed
I did know that. I think I did know that.
They built it with 2 different suspects. Not to leave everybody hanging, because I know that bullshit kind of annoys. They shot an ending with both Leland Palmer, and then they shot an ending where Ben Horn.
Yes, I did know that. Yep.
So yeah, but the Ben Horn one has never been released. Even like the Twin Peaks box sets, they've never released it. They've released deleted scenes, but they've never released that, as far as I can tell. I've never seen it.
I've not seen it. I've heard of it. So that is kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm so glad that the way that these happen to come out, because I would have hated to have had to do these 2 episodes not together, because really this is just one long episode.
Yeah, and it leads up perfectly to Lonely Souls.
Yes, which is probably, arguably, the best episode of the show.
Yeah, I'm not lying that that episode traumatized me as a kid. It was a reason why I slept with a light on at 10, 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was. I'm still surprised this was shown on network television.
I am too, and again, we're gonna get to this whole culmination because, yeah, I'm not foreshadowing, or I mean, I will leave this one on a cliffhanger. I am not kidding as well that this fucked me up so bad, and when I told Joe how I experienced the episode, Joe said, "Wow, that seems even worse than than how you should have experienced it." Um, and yeah, we're getting to the point where I had to stop watching it in its original run.
I did too. I didn't
Yep.
watch until the final episode.
Yep.
If we're talking like the run, I stopped watching after this because I was so traumatized, and then I had to watch the finale. And oddly enough, I didn't seem to miss a whole lot between episode 7 and episode 22,
No.
which
No,
says a
this
whole fucking lot.
whole lot. And we are in for a rough ride after next week. Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I'll say the 2 episodes after. Okay, so the plan is, everybody, we're gonna do Lonely Souls next week as its own.
yep.
Then we'll do episode 8 and 9 because that pretty
Yep.
much closes out the Laura Palmer storyline. That's just where it ends.
Yep.
So at episode 9, Arbitrary Law, that's where that ends. We're gonna go. I think did we agree on this? This is when we're gonna review Fire Walk with Me.
Correct. Yes. Yes. After episode 9, we're gonna review Firewalk with Me. Yep.
So we'll do Fire Walk with Me, and then after that, then we'll be doing 2 large chunks. It'll be just 2 podcasts of this filler, and it's just honestly, it's not fun to talk about. It's fun to like rip on, but I think Paul and I just can't. We just can't
No.
do episodes of
No.
this a
No,
week.
we tried.
We'll soon just not have fun with this. And is this being one of the highlights of my week is talking Twin Peaks with Paul. I don't want to ruin that.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm completely with you on that. So yeah, I think we're gonna hammer through that. And then
We'll do the 29 Beyond Life and Death as its own.
as its own. And then we'll go into the books. At least
Yeah, we'll probably do Secret History, and we'll do a little bit of the missing pieces. I think because this is all that stuff kind of all builds up for the. It'll be like a mishmash episode, I'd imagine. Just kind of like throwing these ideas out, because then we'll go into the Return, which is going to be an interesting beast of its own.
yeah.
I'm excited for it too. I haven't watched it in like 2 years, so I'm kind of excited to revisit the Return.
Me too, honestly. I'm very excited to do the Return, and then once we're done with the Return, we'll review the final dossier, because that is basically the end cap to the whole thing.
Yeah, that is when this journey ends, at least for now. I honestly, people have wondered if there'll be a season 4. As nobody knows, given that filming the Return damn near killed David Lynch. I don't think if they did return, it's not going to be as an ambitious project as the Return was.
No, I don't think so either.
I honestly don't think they'll return to it.
I don't think so.
It ends. I think it ends great. It's just, we'll get into it when we talk to it, but I think it's a fitting ending, and it pisses a lot of people off, which is great too.
The Return will piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, it came out, and we'll talk about that because it's interesting of how confusing it was when we first started watching it, and then because nobody knew how it was gonna how you're gonna bring back Twin Peaks. They did it, and it's different, and that's okay.
It's very different. It's very, very, very different. But I enjoyed it.
I do too. Yeah, especially when I rewatched it after going through it, I waited a year and I bought the Blu-ray set. I enjoyed it a lot more, kind of knowing where it was heading.
Yeah, it was scary to see in the beginning.
Yeah, it was very discombobulating at the beginning, because it goes into the stuff Paul and I love, which is the Lodge stuff. But then it's just like, oh wow, this is a lot of Lodge stuff. Like I loved it, but it's just like it's like I watched the first 4 episodes in a 4.5 hour whatever marathon, and it was exhausting.
It was exhausting because I think they released the first 4 episodes at once, right?
For streamings, and
for streaming. Yep. And I'd done the same thing, and
I was gobsmacked by just over censoring.
Oh, it was insane. It was insane. And so we'll do next week we'll do Lonely Souls, then we'll do 8 and 9 together, I think.
Yep, we'll do 8 and 9, and then we'll do Fire Walk with me.
Then we'll do Fire Walk with me. So that's what you guys are in for, and boy, there's going to be so much trauma to revisit and do these things.
Yeah, because people just remember these were 8 or 9-year-old, 10-year-old, maybe at least 9-year-old kids watching this. Not meant for children. Never been meant for children.
Not meant for children.
Yeah.
Not meant for children at all.
We're heading here to the end. So, Paul, what do you guys have coming up for Cast That Movie? You guys are releasing an episode this week.
This week.
I'm excited because I don't get to, even though you guys are on my blog site, I don't get to hear these early.
No, and I appreciate that. Yes. So we are on the Jodown. So the next one that's coming up will be released this week. Will be on Tuesday. Hopefully I should have this one up beforehand. But we will be doing The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, and then as our recast, and then our dream project is The Birth of SNL.
That's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see who you guys play humble man Chevy Chase in that.
Let me ask you, who would you pick?
This sounds because he did it, but I thought it worked perfectly. Was Joe McHale played Chevy Chase in the National Lampoon biopic that was on Netflix.
Okay.
Because they kind of have like the similar mannerisms and a similar sense of humor, and plus they were both on Community, so that's my lazy man pick.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'm not going to give away who we picked. Maybe
Brian
somebody.
Dennehy.
Brian Dennehy. Yes. And I do address your Brian Dennehy comment, by the way.
I'm going to keep bringing it up. It's the Speed 2 cruise control of that movie.
That's so freaking awesome. That and Airwolf. So, something else I'd like to bring up here that we're doing now with and I'll ask you, Joe, in a little bit here, but during the week, you can also find us on Facebook. You can find, we have our Twin Peaks podcast above a convenience store talking Twin Peaks page, and we have our Cast That Movie page. And something I'm going to start introducing is, ask us things, bring up questions, bring up comments. One of our listeners, that's why I mentioned the game earlier. She wanted me to say, hey, you know what? You're going to make everyone lose the game today. And that was one of our listeners. Her name's Ray. So the idea is that, during the week, bring up comments, bring up questions, bring up things, that maybe points that you guys have on things, and we can address them. I think you and I'd be happy to add that to the podcast.
Oh, we've been nerding out on these theories between us for so long. I'd welcome another point of view. You and I have been talking this shit for a long time. I think ever since we both found out we were into it. Yeah. I think that was through Facebook, and then again when we saw each other at the book signing, I think that's when it hit both of us. Oh, you're really into Twin Peaks. Yeah. Well, The Return, we were just messaging each other back and forth, like, what the fuck? What the fuck was this? What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
James is singing that fucking song again.
And we have to revisit that fucking song.
I'll skip over It's just the end credits, man. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
No.
But yeah, welcome. Yeah, give us questions or give us your theories, man. We love to nerd out on this, and we'd love you all to just nerd out with us.
Yeah. Agreed. Now, Joe, you guys got something different going on in the Joe Down this month, don't you?
Oh God, yeah, we're doing podcasts. Brown and I don't do them too often. We're more we like to write a lot more. It's just how we're more comfortable. So we're stepping out of our comfort area, and we're doing podcasts of all the Fast and Furious movies we have not reviewed yet. And we watched the first 3 so far, and it's rough because my introduction was the 7th movie, and we're basically it's like they're just balls out insane at that point. They just don't care. The Rock's there. They're international mercenaries. So I was very confused going into these and like, hey, these guys are just a bunch of street racers. What's going on? Why isn't The Rock yanking a helicopter out of the sky with a chain? Which is something that happens in Hobbs and Shaw, the spin-off movie.
Oh my God,
Paul, you gotta watch them. I swear. But don't watch the early ones. Start at like 7 because that's when you're just like, wait, what? Everything you thought about these movies is just like thrown out the window, and it's just the weirdest action franchise I've ever seen.
I'll listen to your guys' podcast of it, and maybe eventually I'll get to it. But my God, I have no desire to see these movies.
Yeah. Plus, The Rock is, my God, he's a charismatic fucking guy. Like, I'll watch almost anything with him, and the guy just oozes charisma.
He does. I will say he is a very charismatic dude.
Would The Rock been able to save Rocky and Bullwinkle?
No. No. Well, you know what? Maybe, because I think if The Rock was in it, he probably would have demanded a better script. But
De Niro in that movie.
De Niro's not only was he in it, he was one of the producers.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh God is right. Yeah. You want to listen.
I'm excited for this pod. Like I know it was just like the Island of Dr. Moreau like wiped you out, and you guys need something, but I'm still interested in hearing how this came to be.
Yeah, and I do get into that, and you want to hear. I mean, I'll be honest, it's nowhere near in terms of depth of what was Dr. Island of Dr. Moreau, but it still was interesting enough where I was like, oh, okay, that's what happened there. So yeah, once again, I want to give a great big shout out to Ray Bear Wins with her, with her question or comment. Please, guys, join. Bring up your comments or things. We will talk about them in the podcast. Joe, anything else you want to say?
No, I think. We got to prepare for next week's episode because Bob's coming with his death bag.
And remember, those who see him are either the gifted or the damned.